All righty, so let's talk about stacking peptides. Okay, the first thing that everybody kind of has to understand is you've got to get your basic function down right. If you're taking, any of the growth stuff, any of the, smorelin, tesamorelin, epimorelin, CJC, you got to get your testosterone levels right first. Men, women, you got to get your testosterone levels right first. That's the base function of everything. Don't be playing with peptides for your testosterone. It's not where it's supposed to be. It's just basic. Remember, when we start looking at peptides, there's things that peptides can completely control and completely function, but you've also got to recognize you have to feed the system the nutrients it requires to build the things. You can't tell your body, build this thing, bake this cake, and then have the body go, we don't have any eggs. It's not going to be beneficial. So basic function, keep that in mind. All right. My favorite stack is to, first of all, control glucose and insulin functionality. So retatrutide is going to be the basic function for all peptides. So we're going to start with base function of like reta. You can use some GLP-1s if you're not a reta fan, which I don't know why you'd be that outside of your FDA nonsense. So it'd be when your GLP-1s, specifically reta and testosterone is your base. And then it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. You can use some SARMs on that. The slut PP, I'm not a huge fan of estrogen function stuff. So SARMs, I'm not a giant fan of. I think they've got a little bit more dirty function than anything else, but you can use slut PP if your main function is losing fat. But if you're going to go away from SARMs, 5-amino-1-MQ is a fantastic thing to stack on top of that. But remember, when we're starting to look at increasing mitochondrial function, increasing strain or push or whatever you're going to do on mitochondrial function, I would always like SS31. SS31 increases what's called cardiolipin. It helps restore the membrane on the inside of the mitochondria that actually help function with electron chain transport functionality. So this gets back into the whole creation of ATP function in the mitochondria. So that one's a great one. I've run that one for a long time because my entire 20s were basically, if I could design a way of damaging your mitochondria, that would have been my 20s. High stress, trash food, lots of alcohol, poor sleep, sleep apnea, low oxygen function, like it was terrible. So I spent a lot of time regenerating and healing my mitochondria. So SS31 is a big one. MOTS is also a fantastic player. MOTS is not a fat loss necessarily peptide. However, it does function and increase utilization of cyclohexane AMPK, and so it is going to help with some of the basically like ramping your system up like it's exercising. So it's going to increase production of ATP. It's going to increase efficiency of ATP production. So it's a great one to use. There's a lot of guys who are mixing it. There's a triple helix out that I kind of like. It's got NAD, it's got MOTS-C, and it's got 5-amino-1-MQ in it. So those are great. But if we're looking for fat loss, I'm going to go with something to the order of, like a GLP-1, specifically retatrutide, and I'm going to throw 5-amino-1-MQ in it. And that's probably the base stack I'm going to do on that one. If we're trying to grow, so my big, and I know everybody else has their opinions, I like DAC. So when we start looking at, not Dak Prescott, I have to respect Dak Prescott. There's an additive on CJC 1295. You'll see a lot of times you guys will look at some of this stuff up, and it'll say without DAC. I like it with DAC. So the difference is, and this is one of those big issues we really get into, in my opinion, when you really get good at what you're doing, you start playing with time. Half-lives are really where all this stuff lives, which is why I think 1 shot a week for GLP-1s and radicals like that is the worst way to do it. I don't think that you should ever do hormone therapy once a week or once per half-life. I think that's a terrible option, but we all have our own paths. So when we start looking at like the CJC and increasing growth hormone production, so normally it'll last between 60 and 90 minutes in your system. With DAC, it lasts 6 days. So obviously stacking this one out is it's not something you're going to take every day, but the CJC with DAC is probably my favorite option as far as growth hormone objects go. And then you can spike it every night with like a CJC epimorelin, which is probably my favorite option if you're trying to grow. But again, you got to get the rest of that stuff in. Growth, people always, I want to get bigger. Great. Where's your testosterone at primarily? Testosterone is the primary function for growth function and for healing, for regeneration. So you got to stick with your growth first. Then I personally like CJC 1295 with DAC. If you want to get a little bit fancier on top of that, then you can add in, the CJC ipamorelin at night, just kind of get those things spiked. I like CJC over samorelin, even though samorelin is great, and I've used it for a long time. It's fantastic. You get a little bit more stroke, you get a little bit more power with the CJC. Everybody's really freaking out about tesamorelin because the FDA said they liked it. I really don't care what the FDA says. The FDA's never been right on anything. The FDA, I feel, is more designed to hurt people and protect pharma than it is to do anything beneficial for people. If you look at their track record, their history, it's not great. But the biggest thing is like, oh, it helps burn visceral fat better than everything else. Nope, it's the only one that's been researched for visceral fat. They all do basically the same thing. I would probably tell you if you ran them head to head, CJC 1295 with DAC would be better for visceral fat than tesamorelin would be. But that research hasn't been done, so you can't make that claim. That was just my opinion. So those are great. If you're really looking for mental function and regeneration, this is a great one. Epitalin, people talk about how great epitalin is for healing telomeres and things like that, and it is. I'm not arguing that point at all. It's fantastic. If you want to just take it for that, great, good plan. But one of the things that it also does is increases pineal production of melatonin. So if you're not sleeping, if you're not getting to sleep very well, this is one that I would toss in immediately, because this is great for both fat loss. This is great for muscle generation, because everything that your body does has to heal, regenerate, and repair, and that happens at night. If you can't sleep, all of your systems are screwed, all of them. So getting to sleep is going to be primary on this one. So I would definitely start knocking that one in if you're having trouble falling asleep. Now, if you're having trouble staying asleep, that's typically, I haven't seen a whole lot of peptide function for that. Cleaning your liver is going to be a big piece on that one. So coffee enemas, methylated B vitamins, there's a whole slew of stuff we use for cleaning the liver. So if you're waking up between 2 and 4, usually liver, check parasitic function on that one. That's going to be a big one as well. Okay, so, you can look at, SINAC and some of those other ones for mental function. But again, a lot of these things that are like, oh, look how cool this one is. It does these things. You've got to build your base. Quit looking at how cool roofs are and start working on the foundation. Again, if you guys are not properly set for GLP functions specifically, like this is why I love Retta, because GLPs are just like, stop eating, reduce function, and slow down, gut function, which is beneficial in a lot of ways if you use properly. And Retta comes in with that glucagon and just really balances, insulin functionality and radically changes insulin sensitivity, which is going to be beneficial for everything in the body. So always, kind of start there with those protocols and then kind of build out. But again, this is one of those problems where you have to sit down and be like, what do you want? What are your goals? What I see a lot of people come in with is they have goals and they change. And I love that. That's fantastic. That means we've achieved most of this goal, and so now we're ready to move on. And everybody starts with fat loss, and that's awesome. But let me just tell you something. If you think you're 15 or 20 pounds over fat, and you might be, I'm not saying you're not, you don't have a jacked, ripped, beautiful body underneath it. You have a soft, squishy, flabby body underneath. So if you don't start with the idea that sooner or later you're going to start building and regenerating muscle tissue, you're going to wake up one day and be like, why am I so soft and flappy and my skin so loose? Because that's going to be a thing. And so I see it all the time. So you can do the normal path, which is, this is fine. It's just going to take you a little bit longer, where you do 6 to 10 weeks of fat loss. And then once you start realizing, oh, I'm down 15, 20 pounds, I feel great, this is awesome, you're going to start realizing you're small, especially if you're a guy. And some of you women are going to be like, my butt went away. Yeah. My thighs are smaller. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So as you start doing this, you're going to start wanting to build that body back up. Now, here's the thing. Not only are you going to look better with more muscle mass, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to be wildly healthier in the longevity of life, and the research is showing massive changes. So what people need to start to kind of break out of the hold of, and I see people struggling with this a lot, is they think that, using a GLP-1, using Retta, using testosterone, using growth hormone function is all vanity. It is 100% not. I can guarantee you that the people who run through programs like the ones we do, where we, change their visceral fat levels, reset their insulin sensitivity levels, they drop 20 pounds of fat, 15 pounds of visceral fat type of thing, and they gain 10 pounds of muscle mass, are radically healthier than people than they were beforehand. Radically healthy. And people come back and tell me all the time, they look at me and they're just astonished. They're 45, 50 years old, and they're like, I feel better now than I've ever felt my entire life. Why is that? I'm like, well, think about it. Now your testosterone's where it's supposed to be, probably for the first time ever. all your minerals and B vitamins and omega oils and things, they're where they're supposed to be for the first time, maybe ever in your life. You're finally sleeping. You're finally working out. We've got your diet changed so that you're eating a proper amount of mix of nutrients. Yeah, when you give the body everything it was designed to have, it's going to operate at its optimal levels. That's just kind of how it goes. And you're going to feel that. Now, you're like, well, do I have to do this stuff forever? As long as you want to feel great. You can stop doing peptides. You can stop doing GLP-1s. You can stop doing everything whenever you want to. And I think it's hilarious. The research coming back out now. And they're like, did you know that when you stop GLP-1s, when you stop Retta, and you give yourself another year of eating like trash, you get fat again. Yeah, I don't know who that's supposed to be shocking to, but yeah, if you eat right and exercise, and then you make this beautiful transformation, you feel great, everything's awesome, and then you stop eating right and exercise and go back to a trash diet and sedentary lifestyle, you're gonna get fat and out of shape again. Whatever system you're running on your body will reflect that system. So if you're gonna run some GLP-1s, if you're gonna run this stuff, change your lifestyle with it, and that'll prevent a lot of this stuff when you get off. But those are some of the things. So when you're stacking this stuff, recognize that you've got to come up with a goal. What's my plan? You can take everything under the sun. It's mine, I can get you where you want to go. But what is my goal? And nothing, right? The stuff we have right now can lose fat almost by itself. It can't build muscle by itself yet. We've got some that are coming out that will. So you're going to have to do some of this work yourself. But, stacking this stuff, what are your goals? Where are we trying to go? Which is why I always have people, send me a picture of you in a bathing suit, send me a picture from the internet where you want to go. And so we can start planning the whole process. Because, if you'll talk to anybody I've worked with, it's like, okay, here's the fat loss piece, here's the muscle creation piece. And so that's going to get us where we want to go. But again, you guys need to make sure you plan out where you want to go. Then you put the metrics in of how we know we're getting there. And then kind of plant your hormones, your peptides, and your diet, and your exercise, and your sleep into that plan so that you have a reason why you're doing it and you can track it properly. That's really the big piece. I see a lot of people who are taking 6 or 7 different peptides and, they're hoping they're kind of taking the shotgun effect. And I ask them, like, where are you trying to go? And they're like, better. I'm like, that's not a destination. But so that's kind of where some of the stuff is. If you guys are looking to stack this stuff, it's a great thing to do. But just recognize that if you're going to pick a direction, pick the peptides that are helping you with the direction and pick your direction first. So if you guys have any other questions, hit us up, questions@chalmerswellness.com or see you in the comments in the office. Have a great day.